Hey guys, what is up, and I welcome each and every one of you to a new League of Legends video. So it is that time once again to take a look at the big changes coming to the next patch 8.3. There's a whole bunch of new stuff like new reworks, big nerfs and buffs, and also changes to current runes. But right before we get into that, I want to share with you guys a $1,000 RP giveaway I'm doing with a bunch of other YouTubers. The link is down below. All you have to do is follow the instructions in the link, and this is our way to give back and also say thank you to all of you for the support. But with all of that being said and done, let's not waste any more time and get right into the big changes coming to patch 8.3. So of course the biggest thing to talk about is going to be the Swain rework. Now this bad boy has finally had some massive changes happen to him that I'm sure most of you already know about. I've released some gameplay of him as well on the PvE server, and personally I think it's quite cool. Now he should be coming out in just a couple of days. I'll give you guys a very quick rundown on the Swain rework. Essentially almost every single ability is different. His passive pulls someone in that CC'd and deals bonus damage, and also collects soul fragments, which is used with his ultimate. His Q ability is just a simple kind of Graves ult Q, if you will. His W is going to be essentially the old clairvoyance that deals damage. His E ability is essentially an REQ that also CCs people, and his ultimate is very similar to his ultimate, but it now just deals bonus damage based on the soul fragments collected and looks a lot cooler. My personal impressions of Swain so far is the fact that I actually don't think he's that bad. His mana costs are a little bit high in laning phase, but his Q ability does give mana back if you kill someone. And all in all, he just feels a lot of fun to play. His EW combination is quite strong. His passive is honestly just very strong. His ultimate is really good as well because it makes him very tanky, very similar to the current Swain ultimate, but it looks really cool, and it does quite a bit of damage if you have maximum soul fragments. I want to be trying to play him a bit in my journey to Challenger, though I may instantly regret that, but we'll see what happens. But now let's talk about some buffs and nerfs happening to champions, the first of which going to be Azir, who's receiving a nerf. Now his HP regeneration has actually been slightly increased, however the cooldown on his Q ability has also been increased by quite a bit. Now the thing with Azir's Q is the fact that the cooldown on it has actually the exact same by rank 5 of the ability, however rank 1 it is 4 seconds longer. But since you're maxing it out first anyways, it's really not the biggest nerf in the entire world, but it will hit Azir's laning phase by just a bit. Next up, we have an ever so slight buff happening to Jhin, and more specifically, his ultimate. The damage on his ultimate has actually been increased to where rank 1 is actually the exact same, rank 2 is increased by 10, rank 3 it's increased by 20. Like I said, hardly a buff, but it's a buff nonetheless. Moving along, we have a nerf happening to Katarina, to where her passive, the damage on dagger picked up, has actually been changed to now start at 65 rather than 75, and now it only goes up to 220 rather than 287, all based on level. So it starts lower and it also ends lower. Now this is not the biggest nerf in the entire world to Katarina, but I feel like and I'm hoping that this will be enough to put her in a little bit of a better spot, because at the moment she is definitely the strongest assassin and she is very oppressive. But like I said, I don't think this will completely gut Katarina, but I definitely feel like it'll put her in a spot to where she's just not the best assassin and sitting at a 53% win rate, which is quite good. Following that, we have a quick nerf happening to Kog'Maw as well, because Kog'Maw, if he ever gets to late game at the moment, which a lot of the games now do get to late game, because it feels like a lot of games just are, yeah, pick these scaling champions and wait till 30 minutes and then just see who's stronger. I mean, Kog'Maw is pretty good at that, so the nerf is as follows. The HP regeneration has actually been increased by just ever so slightly, but the damage on his W has also been lowered. So in other words, Kog'Maw is not going to scale as hard into the late game, but again, only a 2% decrease per auto attack on his W, which I mean, isn't really the biggest thing in the entire world. It will definitely lower his damage, but I feel like he'll still very much be Kog'Maw at that point of the game anyways. Next up, we have the mini rework happening to Master Yi, which I did talk about in a previous video, but it is as follows. The HP regeneration has been lowered on Master Yi rather than the usual increase we've been seeing so far. The cost on his Q ability has been lowered to where it's actually the same at rank 1, but by the time you max it out to rank 5, it's 20 mana lower, which I mean isn't really the biggest thing in the world, but I guess it'll help a bit. His Wuju style, the E ability, the true damage has actually been increased on this ability at the lower ranks, and the active bonus AD ratio has also been increased by 10%, but the thing to note is the fact that apparently the biggest change to Master Yi, which was the change to his W to where after you fill channel you get extra damage and healing and stuff, it has been apparently completely reverted, so it doesn't seem like they'll be shipping it just yet, but I'm not going to be surprised if they're just testing it and they'll bring it back for the next iteration in the next PvE cycle, and then the following patch the Master Yi changes will happen. But speaking of the reworks being reverted, Rengar rework has also been reverted, but this one they specifically stated that they're still testing it, they're still, trying things out here and there, and it's not ready to go on the live servers just yet, but it's going to be coming back in the next PvE cycle. They'll be testing it even more, and then we can probably expect to see it in the next patch after that, so patch 8.4. So in other words, nothing is happening with Rengar as of right and now in this current patch coming up. Next up, we have a nerf happening to Mr. Ryze. Now, Ryze is a very interesting champion because if you play him in, I guess, lower elos, people don't really know how to play him there, and he doesn't really find a lot of success. But the higher elo you go, and especially in Master Challenge or even High Diamond, people that actually know how to play this champion, they are quite good at him, and this guy can do quite a bit. One of the most annoying things, however, which doesn't even require skill to do, is the combination of using either Zhonya's or Stopwatch plus his ultimate, which is literally a get out of jail free card, because you just activate your ultimate, you activate the Zhonya's, and you just chill there. They can't touch you, they can't stop you, and you just teleport away to safety. Now this is no longer possible. They completely removed this ability, so the interaction will not happen anymore. So if you were to use your ultimate and then use Stopwatch or Zhonya's, what will happen now instead is your ultimate will instantly be cancelled and it'll just not do the effect whatsoever, which is going to be quite a decent hit to Ryze. Because on top of having, you know, fairly easy CC being his W, good damage, good clear, he has a little bit of mobility with the extra movement speed, he has a big shield that he gets from his passive, and also the get out of jail free card. Ryze doesn't seem like he has a lot of weaknesses if you know what you're doing, and this is going to at least help that by just a bit. Next up, we also have a nerf happening to Sejuani, who is not the best jungler at the very moment, but she's still definitely quite up there to being a very good one nonetheless. The nerf is as follows. Her Q ability, Arctic Assault, the cooldown has actually been increased on this ability at the lower ranks, but by rank 5 it evens out to 11 seconds regardless. So again, the main thing here is just to kind of lower her ganking power by just a bit, since she does have an extra 2 seconds rank 1, which I mean isn't a whole lot, but I guess it's gonna affect her by just a bit. And also to maybe traverse the jungle a little bit quicker, so it'll slow her down by just a bit as well, but again, it shouldn't be too much of a big hit. Moving along, we also have a quick buff happening over to Tryndamere. Now, this is not a champion that I personally see very often, and the only time I ever do see him is by players that quite literally one-trick the champion, but regardless, the buffs are as follows. The HP regeneration has been lowered, but the AD growth has been increased, which I think is a worthy trade-off for someone like Tryndamere. Spinning Slash, his E ability, the bonus AD ratio has been increased by an extra 10%. So, all in all, Tryndamere is just getting a lot more damage, again, from his E, and just the fact that he's getting more AD growth per level. But speaking of champions we never see, Viktor is one we almost never see in the mid lane at the moment because he's just so weak, but I feel like after these buffs, you're going to be starting to see a lot more Viktors in the mid lane, and I might have to even pick him up just because of how strong he might be. The buffs are as follows. The HP regeneration has actually been increased for Viktor. His Q ability's augmented effect now has an extra effect that states Siphon Power's shield is increased by 60%, which is actually quite good. And Chaos Storm, his ultimate, the cooldown on this ability has also been lowered at rank 2 and rank 3 by 10 seconds and 20 seconds respectively. So I mean, this will make Viktor's trading potential, especially if you upgrade his Q first in the laning phase, almost unmatched, because all you have to do is run in there, throw your Q, auto attack E, and your shield will be just so massive that the cooldown is already fairly low, especially with some cooldown, especially if you max it out first, which you usually don't, but I mean, maybe the option now is there. And I mean, I just feel like he'll win almost every single trade in the mid lane, and it's gonna make him extremely oppressive. And last but not least, for the champions, we'll be talking about a Zoe, the champion everyone hates facing but everyone loves having on their team. The cooldown on her Q ability has actually been increased by 1 second at rank 1, but only just by a measly 0.25 seconds by rank 5, so essentially the same thing. Also not the biggest nerf in the entire world, but I feel like she's already gotten some nerfs and they don't want to over kind of nerf her too much to where she's completely not viable anymore. So, I mean, this will kind of lower her down by just a bit, but not really, so we'll see what happens with it once it hits the live servers. Next up, let's quickly talk about the runes because there are some very important things to cover here, the first of which being Stopwatch. The gold contributed to the items it builds into has been lowered from 300 to 250, so only a 50 gold decrease, but I mean, any nerfs to Stopwatch at this point are ones that are very, very welcomed. Following that, Unsealed Spellbook, which has been used by almost every single mid laner and even champions in the jungle, top lane, and support and ADC, pretty much every single role will take Unsealed Spellbook now because of how useful it is. It has been finally nerfed. The Summoner Spell cooldown reduction has been lowered from 25% to 15%, which I think still makes it honestly not too bad, but definitely not as just insanely good as 25%. So hopefully less people will take it, though I'm still not going to be too surprised if people are still taking it quite frequently. But to make things even better, the whole inspiration tree on top of the nerfs we just talked about, magical footwear has moved up a slot to where now it's on the first row alongside Hex Flash and also the infamous Stopwatch. So in a way that's actually a good thing because now you can't go Stopwatch and also go the boots and just get so much gold value for free. That was kind of ridiculous. Now you have to pick one of the two, but even with that being said, people will still obviously go for Stopwatch almost every single time. but at least you won't be able to get stopwatch and boots for free, which is definitely a good thing. But obviously Biscuit Delivery had to swap places, so now it'll be in the second row. And last but not least, on top of the magical footwear moving up a slot, it no longer costs 50 gold less to upgrade to other boots, so even then you're still losing value from the boots as well, so a lot of value lost in the whole inspiration tree all in all. I mean, you have less cooldown reduction from your unsealed spellbook, you can't get the boots and the stopwatch, and both the stopwatch and the boots now give you less gold when you try to upgrade it into something else. And the very quick final thing I want to mention is the fact that the Lunar Revel event should be beginning this patch, and a lot of cool skins. We have some new kind of nice little updates to the map as well, with Baron and stuff looking very, very cool, and a whole lot of other stuff I'm sure coming along the way as well. So that's it for this video, guys. There you have it, the biggest changes coming to this patch. A lot of reworks were reverted, but a lot of buffs happening to champions as well, more specifically champions like Viktor you want to watch out for sure, champions like maybe Tryndamere as well, and even though Master Yi's rework got reverted, he still got a buff regardless. But either way, guys, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, definitely hit that like button. Make sure to enter the giveaway down below. Make sure to share this with your friends. Check out my other videos as well. But I'll see you guys for the next one. Peace.